Moses, being returning officer for Ntoroko Electoral District, having added up the number of votes cast as recorded on each declaration of results form in accordance with section 77, subsection 1 of the Parliamentary Election Act, declare that the total number of valid votes cast for candidates are as follows. Bazira Amoni Wambale, independent, 8,095. Rugumayo Edson, NRM, 17,318. The total number of valid votes cast for candidates are 25,413. Total number of rejected or invalid votes, ballot papers are 661. Total number of ballot papers counted are 26,074. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 98. Accordingly, as the returning officer from Ntoroko Electoral District and in accordance with section 71, subsection 1 of the Parliamentary Elections Act, CAP 177, declare Rugumayo Edson, who has obtained the highest number of votes, to be our Moses signature, date 1st, 16 January 16, 2026, time it is 31 minutes past 9. Place Karubutu Town Council Hall. Congratulations. I wish you success.
Edson, Liberaliano, Yakusafino, Brasi, Wesidanto, Tati, Ayakoma, Saza, Nitwara, Muzaku Kusima, Watu wana Kusika, Mkoma kuwa member of parliament. Ngerageza kupataniza n'abantu bonna okukora mali twemica ensi yaitu okwekulaakulaniza kandi okirwa ekyo Max ekyo kubanja omwezi waitu tukujja kubanja kulinda kutukalahera tugenda kutapulanya emirundi kunga abantu baitu bategereza wanyanya karuka bakanise vile vya kwetu wa soya ngine atakatoka kufisha
Independent 28, Rugumayo Edson, NRM 150. Kanara Ward, Kanara Catholic Church, Kanara B. Bazira Ahmed Wambale, Independent, 22. Rugumayo Edson, NRM, 108. Bazira Ahmed Wambale, Independent, 15. Rugumayo Edson, NRM, 146.
Which side? Polling station.
Polling station is the Paris Tuanzane Ward, Ntoroko Health Center, Ntoroko Health Unit. Azira Amon Wambale, Independent, 18. Rugumayo Edison, NRM, 90. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates, 108. Total number of rejected, invalid, in bracket. Paris is in Toroko Ward, Kanara Town Council headquarters. Bazira Amani Wambale, Independent, 27. Rugumayo Edison, NRM, 130. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates, 157. Toroko Ward, Toroko North Pentecostal Church, L to Z. Bazira Amoni Wambale, Independent, 20. Rugumayo Edson, NRM, 82. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates, 102. Toroko Catholic Church, A to J. Bazira Amoni Wambale, Independent, 22. Rugumayo Edison, NRM, 104. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates, 126. Kanyans Ward, Itambi. Bazira Amoni Wambale, Independent, 26. Rugumayo Edson, NRM, 154. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates, 180. Total number of rejected, in bracket, invalid votes, 02. Total number of ballot papers counted, 182. Total number of spoiled ballot papers, 01. Finance Ward, Ntoroko Mosque, A to K. Bazira Amoni Wambale, Independent, 30. Rugumayo Edison, NRM, 128. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates, 158. Total number of rejected, in bracket, invalid votes, 01. Total number of ballot papers counted, 159. Total number of spoiled ballot papers, 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station, 450. Total number of unused ballot, Toroko Ward, Kisenyi Boga Hall, A to K. Bazira Amoni Wambale, Independent, 13. Rugumayo Edison, NRM, 123. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates, 136. Kanara Ward, Kanara Catholic Church, B. Ruenyangi. Bazira Amoni Wambale, Independent, 15. Rugumayo Edison, NRM, 133. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates, 148. Total number of rejected, invalid votes, 16. Total number of ballot papers counted, 164. Total number of spoiled ballot papers, 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to a polling station 450. Total number of unused ballot papers 286. Morocco Ward, Kisenyi Bobo Hall, L to Z. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 14. Rugumayo Edson NRM 102. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 116. Total number of rejected invalid votes 08 126. Azira Amani Wambale Independent 43. Rugumayo Edson NRM 159. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 202. Total number of rejected invalid votes 06. Total number of ballot papers counted 208. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers. Tanzania Ward, Mtoroko Catholic Church M to Z. Zikanara Town Council, Tanzania Ward, Mtoroko Catholic Church M to Z. Anyanso Ward, Mtoroko Mosque L to Z. Mtoroko Ward, Mtoroko Mosque L to Z. Bazira Amani Wambale Independent 22. Rugumayo Edson NRM 96. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 118. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes. Ward Mtoroko North Pentecostal Church A to K. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 18. Rugumayo Edson NRM 120. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 138. Under primary school A to J. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 10. Rugumayo Edson NRM 108. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 118. Makondo, St. Mark, Kanyamukura. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 4. Rugumayo Edson NRM 57. Total number of valid votes cast for 1. Total number of rejected in Mukimba Mustard Seed Church. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 15. Rugumayo Edson NRM 150. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 165. Kiranga Primary School K to L. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 15. Rugumayo Edson NRM 165. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 180. Total number of rejected bracket invalid votes 7. Total number of ballot papers counted 187. Total number Paris Majumba Ati Royal Primary School A to K. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 32. Rugumayo Edson NRM 209. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 241. L to Z. Bazira Amoni Wambali Independent 13, Rugumayo Edson NRM 150. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 163. Total number of rejected invalid votes 00. Total number of ballot papers counted 163. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling stations 350. Total number of Harukoba Paris headquarters. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 33. Rugumayo Edson NRM 244. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 277. Total Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 20. Rugumayo Edson NRM 156. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 176. Total number of rejected invalid votes Makondo 8K. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 34. Rugumayo Edson NRM 259. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 293. Total number of rejected invalid votes 3. Total number of ballot papers counted 296. Amoni Wambale Independent 11. Rugumayo Edson NRM 87. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 98. Total number of rejected invalid votes 3. Total number of ballot papers counted 101. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station 250. Total number of unused ballot papers 149. Kiranga Paris, Kiranga 2 Fellowship Church. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 18. Rugumayo Edson NRM 26. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 44. Total number rejected invalid votes 00. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 15. Rugumayo Edson NRM 150. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 165. Total number of rejected invalid votes 00. Total number of ballot papers counted. Rugumayo Edson NRM 150. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 165. Total number of rejected invalid votes 00. Total number of ballot papers counted 165. Uganda. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 19. Rugumayo Edson NRM 127. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 146. Sasabi Church of Uganda. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 15. Rugumayo Edson NRM 124. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 139. Total number of Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 33. Rugumayo Edson NRM 205. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 238. Total number of rejected invalid votes 04. Total number of ballot papers counted 242. Total number of spoiled 202. Number of valid votes cast for candidates 204. invalid votes 12. Total number of ballot papers counted 216. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station 450. Total number of unused ballot papers 22. Total number of rejected invalid votes 00. Total number of ballot papers counted 122. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 1. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station 250. Total number of unused ballot papers 182K. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 38. Rugumayo Edson NRM 216. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 254. Total number of rejected invalid votes 5. Paris Okora Health Center L to Z. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 06. Rugumayo Edson NRM 97. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 103. Total number of rejected in the bracket invalid votes. Paris Rukora Health Center A to K. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 16. Rukumayo Edson NRM 233. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 249. Total number of rejected. Paris Weramuri Primary School L to Z. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 27. Rugumayo Edson NRM 117. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 114. Total number of rejected invalid votes. Rwamabale Paris Rwamabale Primary School M to Z. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 40. Rugumayo Edson NRM 156. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 196. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes 8. Aibale Paris Aibale Primary School L to Z. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 18. Rugumayo Edson NRM 92. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 110. Total number of rejected invalid votes 04. Independent 14. Rugumayo Edson NRM 111. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 125. Total number of rejected invalid votes 03. Total number of ballot papers counted 128. Total number of ballot papers Rwamabale Primary School K to L. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 38. Rugumayo Edson NRM 215. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 253. Total number of rejected invalid votes 10. Total number of ballot papers counted 263. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 50. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station 450. Total number of unissued ballot papers 197. Wambale Primary School A to J. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 21. Rugumayo Edson NRM 132. Number of valid votes cast for candidates 153. Total number of rejected invalid votes 13. Total number of ballot papers counted 166. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling stations 350. Total number of total polling stations. Bazira Amoni Bwambale Independent 64. Rugumayo Edson NRM 162. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 226. Total number of ballot papers counted. Independent 14. Rugumayo Edson NRM 202. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 216. Total number of rejected invalid votes 03. Total number of ballot papers counted. Ward Rwenzori Zonal Industrial Hub. Bazira Amoni Bwambale 08. Rugumayo Edson NRM 259. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 269. Total number of rejected invalid votes 01. Total number of ballot papers counted 273. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 03. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling stations 350. Total number of unused ballot papers 79. Buku West Ward, Samaria Fellowship. Bazira Amoni Bwambale Independent 55. Rugumayo Edson NRM 129. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 184. Total number of rejected invalid votes 5. Total number of ballot papers counted 189. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling stations 400. Total number of unused ballot papers 216. Buku West Ward, Samaria Fellowship. Independent 55. Rugumayo Edson NRM 129. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 184. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes 5. Total number of ballot papers counted 189. Buku South Ward, Kaitampara polling station. Bazira Amoni Bwambale Independent 74. Rugumayo Edson NRM 212. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 286. Total number of rejected invalid votes 16. Total number of ballot papers counted 302. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station 600. Total number of unused ballot papers 298. Ward Kisenge Church of Uganda A2K. Bazira Amoni Bwambale Independent 41. Rugumayo Edson NRM 205. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 246. Total number of rejected invalid votes. Buku East Ward, Kisege Church of Uganda L to Z. Bazira Amon Bwambale Independent 13. Rugumayo Edson NRM 39. North Ward Kamarunga. Bazira Amon Bwambale Independent 64. Rugumayo Edson NRM 162. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 226. Total number of rejected. Now we start Harukut sub-county. Paris, Busairo, polling station, Busairo SDA Church. Bazira Amoni Bwambale Independent 155. Rugumayo Edson NRM 16. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 171. Total number of rejected Katwakan SDA Church. Bazira Amoni Bwambale Independent 57. Rugumayo Edson NRM 94. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 151. Total number of rejected the Muhammad Pentecostal Church. Bazira Amoni Bwambale Independent 160. Rugumayo Edson NRM 75. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 235. Total number of rejected Nyambik polling station Kabilanzo. Bazira Amoni Bwambale Independent 146. Rugumayo Edson NRM 60. Number of valid votes cast for candidates 206. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes 02. Paris Itojo Primary School A to K. Bazira Amoni Bwambale Independent 125. Rugumayo Edson NRM 64. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 189. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes 2. Total number of ballot papers counted 191. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station 400. Total number of unused ballot papers. Bungu Paris, Kiamutema SDA Church, polling station. Bazira Amoni Bwambale Independent 137. Rugumayo Edson NRM 24. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 161. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes 08. Total number of ballot papers counted 170. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 01. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 329. Total number of rejected invalid votes 7. Total number of ballot papers counted 336. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station 450. Total number of unused ballot papers. Paris, Kisege SDA SDA Church 8K. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 69. Rugumayo Edson NRM 76. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 145. Total number of SDA Church L to Z. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 81. Rugumayo Edson NRM 62. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 143. Total number rejected in bracket invalid votes 01. Total number of Zairo Paris Wenselene Primary School. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 147. Rugumayo Edson NRM 66. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 213. Total number rejected in bracket Tojo Kisulumbu Church of Uganda. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 80. Rugumayo Edson NRM 51. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates. Total number rejected in bracket invalid votes. Total number of ballot papers counted 142. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00 158. Itojo Paris, Itojo Primary School L to Z. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 154. Rugumayo Edson NRM 53. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 207. Total number rejected invalid votes 13. Let us proceed. Nombe Sub-County, Kiabandara Paris, Kiabandara Trading Center. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 93. Rugumayo Edson NRM 99. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 192. Total number of Bandara Nyakatonzi Primary School Polling Station. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 76. Rugumayo Edson NRM 95. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 171. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes 2. Total number of ballot papers counted 173. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station 250. Total number of unused ballot papers 77. Nyamsingiri Paris, Nyamsingiri SDA Church Compound. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 59. Rugumayo Edson NRM 136. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 195. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes 06. Total number of ballot papers counted 201. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 04. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station 350. Total number of unused ballot papers 149. Number 1 playground 8K. Bazira Amon Bwambale Independent 191, Rugumayo Edson NRM 132. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 323. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes 8. Total number of ballot papers counted 331. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 2. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station 600. Murambi 1 L to Z polling station. Bazira Amon Bwambale Independent 117. Rugumayo Edson NRM 76. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 193. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes 0. Paris Nombe Primary School L to Z. Bazira Amon Bwambale Independent 201. Rugumayo Edson NRM 63. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 264. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes number 1 playground L to Z. Bazira Amon Bwambale Independent 148. Rugumayo Edson NRM 53. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 201. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes 3. Total number of ballot papers counted 204. Nombe Primary School A to K. Bazira Amon Bwambale Independent 195. Rugumayo Edson NRM 50. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 245. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes 16. Total number of ballot papers counted 261. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 0. Total number of ballot papers Kitoma at Nyakabale Church of Life. Bazira Amon Bwambale Independent 199. Rugumayo Edson NRM 82. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 281. Total number of rejected token polling station. Bazira Amon Bwambale Independent 125. Rugumayo Edson NRM 218. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 343. Total number of rejected invalid votes 8. Total number of ballot papers counted 351. Tondama Paris Musandama Health Center 2. Bazira Amon Bwambale Independent 162. Rugumayo Edson NRM 64. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 226. Total number of rejected invalid Musandama Primary School. Bazira Amon Bwambale Independent 120. Rugumayo Edson NRM 185. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 305. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid Yavandara Paris Murambi 1 A2K. Bazira Amon Bwambale Independent 119. Rugumayo Edson NRM 77. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 196. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes 03. Total number of ballot papers counted 199. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 0. Total number of ballot papers Namisingiri Paris Kemi Kijumbi SDA Church. Bazira Amoni Wambale, Independent 202. Rugumayo Edson NRM 168. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 370. Total number of rejected invalid votes. Musandama Paris, Kabango SDA Church polling station. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 35. Rugumayo Edson NRM 71. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 106. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes counted. Bulungama Paris, Masojo Primary School. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 09. Rugumayo Edson NRM 267. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 276. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes 01. Total number of ballot papers counted 279. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 02. Total number of ballot papers issued in polling station 400. Budiba Paris, Budiba Primary School, KA T to Z. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 38. Rugumayo Edson NRM 190. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 228. Total number of rejected invalid votes 03. Total number of ballot papers counted 231. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Amoni Wambale Independent 22. Rugumayo Edson NRM 428. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 450. Total number of rejected invalid Paris, Kajura Christian Fellowship Church. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 29. Rugumayo Edson NRM 193. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 222. Independent 26. Rugumayo Edson NRM 96. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 122. Total number of rejected Paris with Primary School L to Z. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 26. Rugumayo Edson NRM 96. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 122. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 316. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes 3. Total number of ballot papers counted 319. Masaka Paris, Kamurabara Catholic Church. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 19. Rugumayo Edson NRM 114. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 133. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes. Paris, Primary School A to K. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 75. Rugumayo Edson NRM 254. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 320. Saint Paris, Bulungama Sub-County County Headquarters. Bazira Amon Wambale Independent 55, Rugumayo Edson NRM 147. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 302. Total number of Paris, Nyakaseni Church of Uganda. Bazira Amon Wambale Independent 16, Rugumayo Edson NRM 273. Following?
Yes.
Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 289. Kasungu Primary School, L to Z, polling station. Bazira Amoni Bwambale Independent 14. Rugumayo Edson NRM 176. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 190. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes 00. Total number of ballot papers received. Udiba Paris, Udiba Primary School A to KAS polling station. Bazira Amoni Bwambale Independent 23. Rugumayo Edson NRM 207. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 230. Total number of rejected invalid votes 3. Total number of ballot papers counted 233. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 1. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station 550. Total number of unused ballot papers 316. Paris, Kakatorogo Christian Fellowship. Bazira Amoni Bwambale Independent 04. Rugumayo Edson NRM 67. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 71. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes 03. Total number of ballot papers counted 74. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to the polling station 200. Total number of primary school playground. Bazira Amoni Bwambale Independent 14. Rugumayo Edson NRM 93. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 107. Total Better Future Primary School L to Z. Bazira Amoni Bwambale Independent 8. Rugumayo Edson NRM 125. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 135. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes 2. Total number of ballot papers counted 300. Total number of ballot papers counted 300. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to the polling stations 300. Total number of unused ballot papers 165. Bunguru Paris, Better Future Primary School A to K polling station. Bazira Amoni Bwambale Independent 22. Rugumayo Edson NRM 223. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 245. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes 00. Total number of ballot papers counted 245. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers polling station 500. Another sub-county. Now we are starting Kanara sub-county. Ruenyana Paris, Ruenyana Church of Uganda, L to Z. Bazira Amoni Wambale, Independent, 33. Rugumayo Edson, NRM, 73. We need silence. Colleagues, let us settle down. I beg my pardon. Ruenyana Paris, Ruenyana Church of Uganda, LPZ. Bazira Amoni Wambale, Independent, 33. Rugumayo Edson, NRM, 73. Total number of valid votes cast for Ruenyana Paris, Ruenyana Church of Uganda, A to K. Bazira Amoni Wambale, Independent, 87. Rugumayo Edson, NRM, 146. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates, 233. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes, 10. Total number of ballot papers counted, 543. Katanga Paris, Katanga AB at Budowa, Church of Uganda, A to K. Bazira Amoni Wambale, Independent, 31. Rugumayo Edson, NRM, 207. Total number of valid votes cast for candidate Uganda, A to K. Bazira Amoni Wambale, Independent, 87. Rugumayo Edson, NRM, 146. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates. Hello. Abakubaza asimu turuka ahead. This is not a simple task. Ruangara B at Itambiro Church. Bazira Amoni Wambale, Independent, 30. Rugumayo Edson, NRM, 179. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates, 209. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes, 14. Total number of Ruangara A at Immigration Office, polling station. Bazira Amoni Wambale, Independent, 47. Rugumayo Edson, NRM, 180. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates, 227. Total number of unused ballot papers, 348. Mara Paris, Kajuakum Primary School compound, L to Z. Bazira Amoni Wambale, Independent, 50. Rugumayo Edson, NRM, 52. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates, 102. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes, 08. Polling station. Bazira Amoni Wambale, Independent, 23. Rugumayo Edson, NRM, 225. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates, 248. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes, 9. Total number of ballot papers 47. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to the polling station 600. Total number of unused ballot papers 345. Katanga AB at Butorwa Church of Uganda L2Z polling station. Bazira Amund Wambale Independent 18. Rugumayo Edson NRM 109. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 127. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes 04. Total number of ballot papers counted 131. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station 350. Total number of unused ballot papers 219. Luangara Paris, Kamuga KB to Z, Katunguru Primary School Compound. Bazira Amand Wambale Independent 17. Rugumayo Edson 115. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 132. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes 03. Total number of ballot papers counted 335. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station 550. Total number of unused ballot papers 450. Paris, Katanga at Pentecostal Church polling station. Bazira Amund Wambale Independent 34. Rugumayo Edson NRM 148. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 182. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes 01. Total number of ballot papers counted 100. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued polling station 400. Total number of unused ballot papers 217. Primary School Compound A2K polling station. Bazira Amon Wambale Independent 97. Rugumayo Edson NRM 109. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 206. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes 06. Total number of ballot papers counted 212. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers is 8. Luangara Paris, Kamuga A to KA, Katunguru Church of Uganda Compound. Bazira Amand Wambale Independent 22. Rugumayo Edson NRM 109. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 131. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes 7. Total number of ballot papers counted 138. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 00. Total number of ballot papers issued to the polling station 600. Total number of Karuguru Town Council Ward, Nyahuru Ward, Karuguru Christian Fellowships A2K. Bazira Amon Wambale Independent 85. Rugumayo Edson NRM 119. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 204. Kinanda Ward, Karubutu West Health Center L to Z, Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 173, Rugumayo Edson NRM 48. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 221. Almost A to L polling station. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 36, Rugumayo Edson NRM 162. Number of valid votes cast for candidates 198. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes 09. Total number of ballot papers counted. Yamsokoma Church of Uganda L to Z. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 104. Rugumayo Edson NRM 86. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 190. Total number of rejected. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 110. Rugumayo Edson NRM 142. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 152. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes 9. Total number of ballot papers. Ward Yamsokoma Church of Uganda A to K. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 116. Rugumayo Edson NRM 118. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 234. Total number of rejected Uhuru Ward, Karubutu Christian Fellowship L to Z polling station. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 49. Rugumayo Edson NRM 70. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 119. Total number of rejected. Kiabandara Primary School. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 50. Rugumayo Edson NRM 124. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 174. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes 05. Total number of ballot papers counted 179. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 03. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station 450. Total number of unused ballot papers 268. My pardon, Karubutu Ward Economic Trading Center at St. John's Church of Uganda, Kawasindagis. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 107. Rugumayo Edson NRM 71. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 178. Total number of rejected. Karubutu Ward Economic Trading Center at St. John's Church of Uganda, Kanyamukole A. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 66. Rugumayo Edson NRM 71. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 137. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes 8. Total number of ballot papers counted 145. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 0. Total number of ballot papers Karubutu Central / St. Andrew's Church of Uganda A to K. Bazira Amoni Wambale Independent 58. Rugumayo Edson NRM 134. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 192. Total number of rejected (invalid) votes 03. Total number of ballot papers counted 195. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 01. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station 400. Total number of unused ballot papers 300. Economic Trading Center at St. John's Church of Uganda Economic. Bazira Amuli Mwambale Independent 109. Rugumayo Edson NRM 150. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 259. Total number of rejected invalid votes 0. St. Adolf Catholic Church polling station. Bazira Amuli Mwambale. Madam Silence. Independent 46. Rugumayo Edson NRM 106. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 152. Total number of rejected invalid votes 3 Vision School. Bazira Amoni Mwambale Independent 193. Rugumayo Edson NRM 151. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 344. Total number of rejected Central Stroke St. Andrew's Church of Uganda L to Z. Bazira Amoni Mwambale Independent 39. Rugumayo Edson NRM 67. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 106. Total number of rejected in our ward, Ibanda Primary School, Kahoro. Bazira Amoni Mwambale Independent 187. Rugumayo Edson NRM 13. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 200. Total number of rejected invalid votes 1. Ward Kasozi Primary School. Bazira Amoni Mwambale Independent 180. Rugumayo Edson NRM 29. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 209. Total number of rejected invalid votes 7. Total number of ballot papers counted 216. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 01. Total number of ballot papers issued to polling station 450. Total number of Ibanda Primary School Ibanda 2. Bazira Amoni Mwambale Independent 176. Rugumayo Edson NRM 20. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 196. Total number of rejected invalid votes 00. Total number of ballot papers counted 196. Total number of Ibanda Ward, Karubutu West, Health Center A-K. Bazira Amoni Mwambale Independent 210. Rugumayo Edson NRM 81. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 291. Total number of rejected invalid votes. Kachwamba Ward, Kachwamba Mos M to Z. Bazira Amoni Mwambale Independent 30. Rugumayo Edson NRM 120. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 150. Total number of rejected invalid votes 02. Total number of ballot papers. Health Center polling station. Bazira Amoni Mwambale Independent 39. Rugumayo Edson NRM 125. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 164. Total number of rejected North Ward Rensak. Bazira Amoni Mwambale Independent 41. Rugumayo Edson NRM 98. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 139. Total number of rejected invalid votes 06. Total number of ballot papers counted 100. Rwemisengo Veterinary L to Z polling station. Bazira Amon Wambale Independent 18, Rugumai Edson NRM 93. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 111. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes 2. Total East Ward Rwemisengo Veterinary A to K. Bazira Amon Wambale Independent 35. Rugumai Edson NRM 177. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 212. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes 2. Total number of ballot papers counted 414. South Ward Rwemisengo Trading Center L to Z polling station. Bazira Amon Wambale Independent 25. Rugumayo Edison NRM 128. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 153. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes 8. Total South Ward Rwemisengo Trading Center A to K polling station. Bazira Amon Wambale Independent 65. Rugumayo Edison NRM 188. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 253. Total number of rejected in bracket invalid votes 8. Total number of ballot papers counted 261. Rwemisengo West Ward Rwemisengo Trading Center Headquarter Compound L to Z polling station. Bazira Amon Wambale Independent 27. Rugumayo Edison NRM 138. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 165. Total number of rejected in the compound A to K. Bazira Amon Wambale Independent 60. Rugumayo Edison NRM 173. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 233. Total number of rejected bracket invalid votes 3. Total number of ballot papers counted 236. Total number of spoiled. The second candidate Harambee Town Council, Ibanda Ward, Ibanda Division School. Bazira Amon Wambale Independent 193. Rugumayo Edison NRM 151. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 344. Total rejected